We welcome you into this broadcast of USL Women's Action here in Charlottesville between the Charlottesville Blues and the traveling Richmond Ivy in the Chesapeake Division. Glad to bring you this broadcast here on NBC Sports Engine Play. I'm Camille Gu, joined by Eli Bertoni for this USLW matchup. We'll get you your starting lineups here. For the visitors, in goal, number 1, Cameron Miller. At left back, number 5, Sophie Stroud. At left center back, number 21, Mason Nelson. And number 18, right center back, Rebecca Doolittle. And number 4, the right back, Gianna Schrappek. And number 35 in midfield, Sarah Rosenbaum. Number 23, Dakota Brown, also in midfield. Number 19 in midfield, Jill Flamia. Number 17 in left wing, Morgan Oliver. Number 26, Taylor Berry at striker. And number 22 at right wing, Olivia Woodson. And for your home Charlottesville Blues, in goal, number 0, Sophia De Serb. At left back, number 3, Madeline Radke. At center back, number 25, Kayla McGee, joining her in that center back pair. Number 2, Dylan Copeland. At right back, number 5, Avi Delbs. In midfield, number 8, Charlotte Stavis, joined by number 23, Els Williams, and number 14, Sinclair Hart. In attack, at left wing, number 10, Barrett Callejo, and number 11, striker Sandra Martins, and number 9, to round it out on the right wing, Ellie Cook. Getting ready for evening action here in Charlottesville. The Blues and Ivy at it here. Second matchup of the season after a 0-0 draw to open the season for the Blues on the road to get what still stands as the only point of the season for Charlottesville, a record of 0 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, and still searching for that elusive goal, Eli.
Yeah, Charlottesville have really struggled this season to put the ball in the back of the net. Hopefully they can today. Obviously their best result was against Richmond Ivy in their first game away, so maybe that could build their confidence facing this opponent again. Hopefully we see it happen today.
Absolutely. Both teams in midweek action as Charlottesville went on the road to Annapolis, a team they've now played twice as well, and lost 2-0 despite a bit of a better performance. And also Richmond Ivy playing in the inaugural Brandy Chastain Cup, named after the famous U.S. Women's National Team player. This year's inaugural tournament featured just 4 teams, including the Ivy. They dropped out in penalties to the UWSL team, New England Mutiny. All ready for kickoff here at Charlottesville High School Stadium. Ellie Cook at center field. And the whistle is blown, and the Blues in the white and blue, with the Travelers, Richmond Ivy, in their home green despite being on the road. And here it's Abby Doves over to Williams. Ellie Cook dropping in deep. A turnover there. Barry on the ball for Ivy, already going at the back line of the Blues, but a good cutout there by Copeland. And now it's Cook on the wing. Just a little bit too far out there, and it'll be a throw-in for the Ivy 30 seconds into this one. Part of why that performance was so inspiring, not just because of the result on the road, Eli, was the fact that the Blues did not have a lot of the ball, probably the least possession they've had in a game this season, and yet they were still able to bunker in deep and pull out that gritty road result.
Yeah, we've seen since that game, actually, the Blues have really focused on keeping the ball and controlling possession, and let's just say the results have not been great. We could see them return back to defending, really letting the other opponents have the ball.
Absolutely. Most of the goals they've conceded in this poor stretch of form have been the result of self-inflicted passes out of the back, not as much as opposing teams really taking it to them in possession. And there it seems like Radke going down with a non-contact injury in the second minute. Scary sight there as she's clutching at her leg. And it seems like she'll need proper attention. And that's been a bit of an unfortunate theme for this Blues back line this season. A couple other players going down in early on in matchups. We saw Carly Harfouche a couple of weeks back, and then Abby Doves, who was able to recover and play a full 90 minutes on the road at Annapolis, and now here it's Madeline Radke needing attention. We'll see if head coach Nick Reagan will be forced to use his first substitution. And on this turf type of field, definitely a greater possibility for non-contact injuries. Stepping the wrong way sometimes, that's always an increased likelihood. And Radke able to get up with the help of the trainer, but clearly in a lot of discomfort, and it doesn't seem like she'll be able to continue here. So we'll see who Reagan chooses to bring in. Radke playing as that left back in this system. We've seen Copeland there sometimes, but she's slotted into the middle of the back line. Could see either Dwyer or Harfouche from the reserves coming on and maybe shake up this back line in terms of the positioning for these players. Maybe push Copeland out wide. But wishing all the best to Madeline Radke with this early injury. So it seems like substitution getting ready. It'll be number 19, Ellie Deal, coming in for the injured Radke. And we'll see how this shakes up this formation, who slots in where.
Now entering the game for the Blues, number 19, Ellie Deal.
So it seems like Hart acting as the right back here in response. Rosenbaum in possession, plays it back out to Doolittle, who passes it out to her center back partner in Nelson. Falling over the top, but McGee able to deal with that one. Rosenbaum here once again trying to take on a couple players, blows by the Blues midfielder, and Williams plays it out wide for Woodson, who plays across in. McGee off her chest, and Williams able to clear it deep for Martins, but just too far, and Nelson there comfortably on the ball. Sandra Martins playing in this 9 role despite acting as a right winger in the early portion of the season. Here Rosenbaum finding herself in a wide position once again. Across is swung in. The header there by Barry just wide, and DeSerb only an onlooker, but no trouble there. But some good service there by Rosenbaum, who's been involved very early up and down the field. It'll be the serve here, playing out of the back on the goal kick, sends it out wide left to Abby Doves, who seems to be taking on this left back role in response to the Radke injury. And so we'll see how this whole team responds to maybe a bit of a too early of a formation change than they would have hoped for, or responsibility in that sense. Playing a little bit out of position, but Doves for sure very comfortable in most areas of the field. She plays a lot of center mid, right wing as well. Stroud here on the ball on the close side. Flamia assessing her options, has to go backwards to Doolittle, who switches play. It seems like really Martin's the only one pressing highly. Cahill trying to win the ball up high. It's Barry there dropping in deep. Turns her shoulder, gets it over to Flamia, who plays in a ball behind to Oliver. She's one-on-one with McGee. Shoots a long shot, but it's just far of the left post. And finding space in behind early here, Richmond Ivy is the serve, not having to save any shots so far, but some really good space there for the Ivy.
And tonight's match is presented by Chick-fil-A Woodbrook.
Hart with the throw-in, miscommunication there with Cook, and it's Flammy able to win the ball back up high, and it's Wood. A goal there by Rosenbaum after the mistake off the throw-in, and it's an early 1-0 Richmond Ivy lead. Miscommunication bites Charlottesville in the back once again early on, and they're under it early.
Goal scored by Richmond Sarah Rosenbaum. Hey, Seagull Blues squad, are you ready for a completely different contractor experience?
Once again, a poor giveaway in their own half for the Blues, and just immediately Ivy turned that switch, sent numbers forward, and the low shot towards the left-hand side of the goal just beat the serve. And once again, numbers going forward. Copeland clears. Miller on the ball, really almost a non-existent press from the Blues. Martins is that sole presser up top, but really just no pressure there. DeSerb, that ball in behind goes too far, and it ends up in her hands. And that's really been the problem for the Blues this season, Eli. Even though they've been pressed deep into their own half, and whenever they've tried to clear or send runners in behind on their side of things, it's just they have not connected with these passes in the final third.
Yeah, they've had a lot of difficulty building out of the back, first of all. But then when they do finally create a chance and get the ball into the final third.
Hart plays the ball, tries to clear, but it's Flammy at the top of the box, forced backwards. Schroepek here at the top of the box, fires a long-range shot, but comfortably saved by DeSerb. Once again, one up high, the field by Doolittle. Over to Barry. Now Flammy on the ball. Brown swings it over to Schroepek. And you can just see Ivy's tempo and the chemistry growing into this match, especially after that first goal. They're really taking control of this game early. Sinclair, Hart wins it back at right back. She gets pressured off the ball, but foul called there by the referee. And it just seems like the options really, as well, have not been presenting themselves in midfield when this back line has tried to distribute the ball. It's been difficult for players to get on the ball comfortably and just work their way out of possession, break the lines in midfield. And that's just led to so many unfortunate giveaways for the Blues. Martins here winning the ball back up high. Callejo to chase, but a great tackle there by Nelson. And it goes off Martin's last, so it'll be an Ivy throw-in. Williams winning the ball back high, going for it from long range, but just wide of the left post. The Ivy sitting third in the Chesapeake division, entering this match with the Blues sitting fourth out of the 5-team division. And Eli, it's not like the Ivy have really been world beaters either. They've been shut out in 3 of their matches. And in the 2 matches they have scored in, though, they've scored 3 in each. So it's really been a case of this or that. And the consistency hasn't been there as well for the Ivy. So this, ahead of the match, presented itself as, once again, an opportunity for the Blues to pick up some valuable points.
Yeah, Richmond have been a little inconsistent in terms of scoring goals, scoring 3 or none. Today, already scoring 1, so we could look at them possibly scoring a couple more based on their recent form.
Lamia there with the long-range effort. Tried to turn onto her right foot, but the shot was always going wide of the left post. But just look at how high this Ivy line is in terms of pressing. All it needs is just that one pass to break through this midfield, but a lot of balls over the top. And it's been a problem for the Blues in terms of getting onto those second chance rebounds when those balls have been sent in. Lamia able to turn there, plays in a ball behind for her teammate, and it seems like offside has been given. The ball was put in the back of the net. But this goal will not stand, so it remains 1-0. But there's a clear idea for the Ivy in attack. There's a lot of space in behind for them to exploit and bury there with the chance to make it 2-0, but flagged offside.
Yeah, Ivy have looked very comfortable in possession so far. They've been able to play through the midfield, find the runners in behind, and created a good amount of chances.
Martin's trying to pressure Doolittle there. Cahill supporting, but played back to the goalkeeper, Miller. Here is Oliver on the ball, playing it over to Flamia. She tries to send in a long ball in for Woodson, but just too much pace on that. The angle of the run wasn't lined up with the pass. Here it's Stells on the left-hand side, getting forward at midfield. Pass for Williams was tipped there, but Blues still able to retain possession. Let's see what they can do with this. Williams pressured off the ball there by Rosenbaum, and she gets the ball back, potentially able to play in Woodson. The space closes up, and now it'll be Schrapek on the ball. But numbers in the box for the Ivy. A cross is sent in, and it's off the crossbar by Barry. She puts a second shot into serve, saves, and eventually cleared. Williams with the final push out there, but what an effort there by DeSerb on that second chance.
It's a great ball in from Richmond, but what a double save from DeCurb there, keeping it at 1-0.
But as long as Richmond keeps creating this type of space, sending these types of numbers in the box, it seems like that second goal is inevitably going to be theirs before the Blues get on the board. The Blues need to respond to this pressure. Kaya wins the ball back, trying to start the break, but pressured by Schroppek. And here is McGee with time and space. Plays it back to DeSerb. McGee with the long ball in over the top, but just overhead for Martins, and just once again not on the same page. And that Ivy press is really just baiting this back line to play in those balls and waiting to see what decisions they make before they kind of react. And at the moment, there's no space in midfield for the Blues to kind of attack through. Rosenbaum trying to feed Flamia there. A great challenge there by Nelson, but one back in midfield by number 19, Ellie Deal, the substitute. Plays it over to Delves. A lot of space on this right-hand side if she decides to switch, but back to DeSerb. And now Ivy can recover its shape. Copeland trying to feed Martins. Nothing doing there. Doolittle extremely responsive and aware of that one. Delves. And another giveaway there by the Blues, but Callejo pressing. Richmond just finding it too easy to stay in possession at the moment as Flamia gets it over to Woodson. Stumbles on the ball with her touch and a turnover in midfield. Deal able to assess her options. Tries to play in a through ball for Martins, but the run for Martins not good enough, and Miller will comfortably calm things down. Long ball sent in there for Rosenbaum, but her headed effort goes straight to DeSerb. No other attacking player within 5 yards. And now once again the Blues asked to penetrate this Richmond press and show a little bit of quality, but once again the overhead ball easily cleared by this back line, and Richmond regains possession. Brown there on the turn. Doolittle to her center back partner Nelson, and she's able to push forward and find Barry, who's dropping in deep. And a lot of these Richmond players pushing forward. You can see when Barry drops in, everyone else kind of responds to it and takes up their next positions, and it's just really overwhelming this Blues defense. Here is Callejo playing back, and it's Delves now on the ball on this left-hand side. A little bit crowded. The ball for Callejo, able to retain it over to Williams. A great touch there to leave her defender hanging, but a fantastic recovery by Flamia to win back the ball, and now it's Barry in a little bit of space. Copeland presses, but it's played out wide to Schroppek, and it'll go out for a corner kick, the first of the night for the Ivy. In the 22nd minute here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, the Blues trail 1-0. So it'll be Flamia as the set piece taker. We've seen some really dangerous crosses so far from the Ivy, and came very close to connecting on that second goal. Ball swung in, and a bit of a scrum in the box there, but the shot put overhead by Nelson at the far post had to just get a foot on it, and the ball was always rising with that awkward angle. Seems like we'll have a hydration break here in the 23rd minute. Weather cooling down a little bit here in Charlottesville as we get into the evening hours.
Fans, as a reminder, tonight's match is presented by Chick-fil-A Woodbrook and by Found Market. At Found Market, they believe the little things in life.
Second edition of this 64 Derby this season after the 0-0 draw in Richmond to begin Charlottesville's season. And this broadcast here on Sports Engine Play brought to you by Chick-fil-A Woodbrook.
Specialty goods. Perfect for halftime snacking or a post-game treat. The Little Things Shortbread by Found Market. Always hits the spot. For more stats on the bakery and family behind it.
The Ivy, as we discussed before we get back into play with this end of the hydration break, not the most consistent team either in the Chesapeake. On the road, losing 2-0 to Virginia Beach, 3-1 win at Virginia Atlantic, and then a 1-0 loss on the road to Annapolis, who is flying through this division with 4 wins and 4. But 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw on the season for Richmond Ivy. There are certainly trends that point towards the fact that the Blues could potentially cause some danger here for the visitors and finally get on the board for the 2025 season with the club's first goal. That was on the ball in midfield here after play resumes. Stavis winning it high up in midfield. Williams plays a chipped pass in, but well read by Schroppek. It'll be a throw-in for the Blues.
Richmond's back line have done a really good job of stopping those balls at the top. They've really contained Martin so far, not let her get in behind.
And it's a bit of an interesting positioning in this formation with Cook playing as the right wing and Martins as the striker. Eli, you would think that normally, from what we've seen earlier this season with Martins being on the right wing, that would be kind of reversed.
Yeah, Martins has been great out on the wing, really provided some sparks of hope for this Blues team. However, Nick Reagan may be wanting to get some pace through the middle, look for some balls over the top.
Yeah, and as well as that might be the idea, it just hasn't come to fruition so far. A lot of balls in over the top have just been either misplayed or miscommunication on Martin's end as well in terms of when to turn her shoulder, actually run in behind, and not many simple ground passes being played through. Martins wins a throw in deep into the Ivy half by the corner flag after pressuring Doolittle there. And it'll be Cook to take. Hart playing that cross in, but well dealt with by that Ivy back line. And Rosenbaum here on the ball over to Stroud. One back by Hart. In midfield, Williams gets on the ball, kind of disrupts that play. And here it's Woodson in some space running at this back line, who is all backpedaling. A ball played in behind to Rosenbaum. Does she have the pace to match? Taken out wide. Meg's Hart taking on another. Meg's a second, but well cleared by McGee. A brilliant move there by Rosenbaum. Flamia over to Oliver, who will take Hart on now herself. Plays it to her left foot, tries to swing the cross in, and the rebound falls to Woodson, who shoots, but it's wide of the right post. And not the best effort there after a scary moment for that Blues back line. But that individual quality on the ball from Rosenbaum, Eli, very incredible. Almost resulted in an easy find for a teammate in the box.
Yeah, it's great skill and composure to Meg. Two players.
Switch of play there as Doolittle gets on the ball, tries to work right past two Blues midfielders, and now it's Deal in so much space with Cook running in behind. A ball played through. Cook on her right foot, tries to get the shot off, but it's blocked eventually. And two great recovery runs by that Ivy back line after Cook surely thought she was through on goal, but not able to register a shot on target.
Yeah, Charlottesville taking a page out of their opponent's book, winning the ball up high, and it does create one of the better chances we've seen for Charlottesville all season.
Rosenbaum in space, running past Williams, tries to play in Barry, but well dealt with. And then the following ball in over the top, just not the right weight on that. The Serb able to handle that, but that was a bit of a naive run from Doolittle, I would say, in terms of just trying to take on those two players and blow past them. I know the back line has been able to progress high up, but certainly feeling herself there and almost paid the price. Once again, just not the right connection on these aerial duels. Martins is really not that type of profile as a striker, not going to win many of those 50-50 headers. And here it's Ivy. Woodson on the ball at the top of the box. A great foot in there by McGee to disrupt that shot. Looked all but destined for the top corner, but the Serb able to get on that. Sinclair Hart here on the ball. Plays in Deal, who sends a ball in over the top for Martins, but a good recovery there by Nelson. "32nd minute of action here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, with the Ivy still leading 1-0 on the Blues. Forced 15 saves out of Keely Thomas in that 0-0 draw on the road. The goalkeeper for the Blues, she is not the starting keeper here. That'll be the Serb, who makes back-to-back starts now after the performance at Annapolis in midweek. And I'm sure that was a really good sight for Ivy to see after they just couldn't get one to go in at home in that other matchup. Rosenbaum, once again, just really silky on the ball. A ball played in there for her attacking teammate. Played out wide to Oliver. Tries to blow past Hart, but a good foot in there. And Hart, really good physicality. Once again, Oliver on the ball finds. Spills out to Flamia. Tackled there by Williams, and that'll be an easy foul decision called against the Blues. So this one about 15 yards out from the box. Once again, it'll be Flamia to take this one. Tries to chip it in behind. The header there. Caught there by DeSerb. Woodson was trying to trouble that one, but goalkeeper always with the advantage in those situations. Hart over to Cook. Tries to turn and wins that battle. But some great help there by Flamia. And once again, Richmond in possession of the ball. So there's just been a lot of supportive help when the Blues are beating their individual battles. And here it'll be Schrobeck on the right-hand side. Can she connect with Woodson? Brown with a lot of time and space in midfield. Plays it into Barry with her back turned to goal. A great through ball in there for Woodson. And an even better recovery by McGee. And that'll be a goal kick for DeSerb. You can see Woodson really comfortable and with coming inside, cutting inside, making those diagonal runs, and that's really found a couple of good opportunities, but Kayla McGee certainly has been the most active and aware defender on this Blues back line through 35 minutes.
It looks like Martins has switched over to the right wing and Cook has replaced her up top. So maybe looking for some more hold-up play from Cook up playing striker now for Charlottesville.
Yeah, it seems like it matches both of their profiles a little bit more, so we'll see if that just leads to better opportunities, just a little bit more simple passing sequences on the ball. But here, once again, it's Rosenbaum turning, firing from wide, long range, but always rising once again. Richmond Ivy, once again, some good pressing there, and it'll be a foul called against Sinclair Hart. Hooked her arm around that attacking player for the Ivy, and the referee had no choice but to call a foul, and it'll be a very dangerous free kick for Richmond. A little bit fortunate not to get a card there. There have been a couple of miscues by that back line and smaller fouls, but no cards given yet by the referee. Lamia here on the ball. Fantastic position to take this free kick. Can she find the head of one of these Ivy players in the close post? But Two players for the Ivy not able to jump in front of that, and it just simply floats into the Serbs' lap. Hart loses the ball there. Barry taking her time with a long-range effort, a curling ball that she wanted to put in that top left corner, but went a couple of yards wide there. McGee over to Hart. Once again, double teamed. Has to go backwards. And McGee now with the long ball down the left-hand side. Deal drops in. And it spills out to McGee, who tries to find Williams, but once again, intercepted Deal there to get onto the second ball. But Flamia wins it back over to Woodson. Plays in that ball behind for Rosenbaum, but her shot is troubled by Copeland. And it hits that cage behind the goal. So at the moment, some good enough recoveries by this Blues back line, but just continuing to give up these turnovers and play with fire. Flamia switches it over to Schrappek, taking on Callejo. Plays it over to Brown, who calms things down. Brown over to Stroud with the switch of play. And just trying to find the right side of the ball to attack this Blues back line. But the midfield doing really well to pressure the ball. But a great run in there by Barry, really providing some valuable hold-up play. And here, an Ivy player wide on the ball to cross in. Woodson tries to get on the end of it, decides to let it go through. Not sure if she couldn't get on that or just decided that her teammate was the better option, but Oliver wasn't able to get on the end of that. A bit of pushing there from Brown on Callejo, and the referee sees that, and that'll calm things down a little bit for this Blues team. Geared's Deal on the ball, battling with the Ivy midfielder. Flamia switches it over to Delves. Plays it in for Stavis. A bit of one touch there, and the foul called against Stavis. And that disrupts any momentum the Blues had there, as the Ivy will press this Blues side back into its own half on the set piece. Flamia in space, able to turn. Will she go herself? No, she tries to play in Barry, but just too much on that pass. Barry had already stopped to hold her run, and it seemed like Flamia could have taken that herself, beat her midfielder in her attempt to run towards the top of the box, but it all ends in a goal kick. Ivy coach Fred Owusu-Sikiere really vocal there as the Ivy were trying to build out of the back in possession, trying to urge his team on to get that second goal before the halftime whistle. Drop back for Nelson. And most of this back line deep into the Charlottesville half. The Blues really getting pinned in here. And it's just a bit of Brown over to Rosenbaum with a good turn. Woodson able to turn to her left, and look at that burst of pace. Flamia back over to her teammate. Delves tries to get in on that, but once again it spills back out to Oliver. Tries the long range effort, but once again too high. So a lot of these second chance opportunities at the top of the box have really been misfires by the Ivy. That's a big reason why it remains 1-0. But outside of that, it's been a fantastic performance by the visitors in terms of creating opportunities, really disrupting any energy for the home side. Cayo on the ball, tries to spring in. Martin's there, a good foot put in there by Stroud. And Copeland here out wide for Delves. Woodson really energetic, also getting in on the defensive side of the ball, putting in a fantastic shift in this first half. And she wins the ball back for her teammate Schroppek. And once again, Nelson comfortably able to get it back to her goalkeeper Miller. And
Reminder fans, time is kept on the field by the referee.
Schroppek with the turn in midfield. Delves trying to deal with that run. And it's played in for Woodson. The shot just high after faking out one Blues defender and then getting onto her right foot.
Charlottesville have been very lucky so far that the finishing for Richmond has not been of the top quality. Richmond have 14 shots just in the first half so far.
Yeah, an absolutely staggering difference in total attempts. It'll be 4 minutes of added time to wrap up this first half. We had, of course, the early injury to Madeline Radke, who was replaced by Ellie Deal, and then the hydration break, which has been a theme in this summer season as we enter the hot summer months in Charlottesville. Delves over to Callejo. Callejo having a drop in deep and pressured there by Schroppek. Williams in a 50-50 battle has to look backwards. The serve forced to just boot it long, and Callejo not able to get on the end of that. Seems like the Blues not really able to deal with this pressure, able to get any types of good passing sequences off. The quality on the ball has been really lacking, and here a goal kick after an attempted run there by Rosenbaum. Schroppek wins possession up high there against Delves. Delves trying to recover. Really disrupting that flow of things, stopping the fast break. But Nelson once again here on the ball, able to play in Brown, who turns forward and can play someone in behind. Barry, the ball goes off McGee, and the shot after that just wide, despite having time and space to maybe take another touch there and choose her spot a little more wisely. But really, Charlottesville has been at the mercy of the Ivy's finishing, which, like you said, Eli, just it was a little better. This scoreline could be a little bit more jarring. Here is Schrapek over to Rosenbaum. Tries to swing in a ball. McGee gets on the end of it. And a header there by Oliver. Didn't get too much power on that, and DeSerp had to dive to her right, but ultimately getting there in time after a rebound fell to Oliver in the box. Long ball in there for Cook to chase. Not really well dealt with by Nelson. It'll be a throw in for the Blues with the clock ticking down. Only a minute or so left in stoppage time. Deal tries to bring that ball down, but Ivy on top of it. Back to Deal. And she's forced to go backwards to Hart, and that'll be a throw in. But the referee blows his whistle after the ball goes out of play. And at the end of the first half, it's Richmond Ivy leading 1-0 on the road against your Charlottesville Blues here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, with a crooked number of shots in favor of the visitors as well. Could have been a far greater lead, but regardless, the visitors surely loving this performance after a frustrating derby earlier on in the season where they were held to a 0-0 draw. So it'll be a really good lead for the Ivy here on the road, and we'll be back here on Sports Engine Play in about 20 minutes after the halftime break. We'll see you then. Welcome you back in for the second half of USLW action here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, with kickoff already underway between Charlottesville Blues and Richmond Ivy. Richmond Ivy, the visitors, leading 1-0. As a couple of changes for the home side, it'll be a goalkeeping change with Keely Thomas coming in for Sophia DeSerb and Carly Harfouche coming in on that back line. Seems as though she'll be replacing Sinclair Hart, if I'm not mistaken, and McGee going into the right back role. Excuse me, Hart's still out there, so we'll try to get you who Harfouche got substituted on for quickly, but a good pass in there, almost 2-0 early in the second half for the visitors, but not able to get on the end of that brilliant pass into the 6-yard box. Barry almost making it 2-0. And Thomas being substituted here after we, of course, mentioned her. She was the one who started that other Richmond Ivy game and made 15 saves to hold on to the only point that the Blues have earned so far this season. And so she'll need a little bit of help here to get a result, as she finds herself and the team down after entering into the match. But she'll hope to keep this at 1 for the home side to try and equalize. Ball played in here to Woodson. A good tackle there by Harfouche to send it out for a throw-in. And immediately Sekire talking through it with his Ivy players on the sideline. And it's all about this next goal. Who can bring the pressure? Who can find the right sequences of play? Can the Blues respond and maybe just get a little bit more possession? Woodson in behind here, using her pace. Harfouche trying to catch up, but Woodson here one-on-one, and Thomas with the save. Already called into action, Keely Thomas, and stepping up. Woodson tried to take it herself and send it into that lower left corner, but decided to shoot just a little bit too late. Thomas made herself big and was able to deflect that shot back into midfield. But it's Ivy once again on the ball here. Brown playing it back out for Doolittle. Pressured by Martins. Rosenbaum winning it in midfield, but dispossessed. And another misfire there by Deal. Not picking her head up before, trying to send in that pass in behind, and I believe that'll be a Ivy throw-in from our vantage point here in the press box. Not really able to see that close left corner side. They're battling on the ball. It falls to Cook in the area, but just gets too much underneath that shot. And a great early opportunity there goes begging.
Yeah, a good start from Charlottesville. Pressing up high, able to create a chance. Hopefully they can build on that. Maybe get an equalizer here in their first goal at home.
Once again, Ivy rotating the ball around, keeping things simple, but a really good tempo for it. And that's why they've had so much success holding onto the ball. Here it'll be Thomas picking that one up after a bit of a misfire in behind there for Woodson. And she'll boot this one long, it seems like. Cook tries to deal with that one. Spills back out towards Charlottesville's half. And a battle there between Hart and Barry. Won by Barry, but illegally as the ref signals a Blues free kick. I believe it's been Els Williams substituted off here as well as one of those replacements, with Thomas and Harfouche coming on for the Blues. But here, springing into action, Barry tries to find her teammate, but good recovery there by Copeland. Barry getting to it before it goes out on the touchline. Trying to beat Copeland once again on the left foot. Back out to Schrobeck. And into midfield for Brown to deal with it. But good pressure there by Stavis. And it's forced backwards once again. Ball sent in there over the top for Barry, but the wrong angle, and Thomas gets to it before Oliver is able to also cut in. And that was the problem in their last match with Ivy. They didn't have too much possession. Ivy able to rotate the ball around a lot very easily. The through ball played in there for Cook on the left-hand side. It's Nelson trying to recover, and Cook gets it all wrong and chops that shot to the left of the post. Had her center back beaten, but not able to trouble Miller there. And that's one she'll certainly want back. Simply has to get that one on target, you feel like. It's Nelson there under a bit of pressure. Woodson drops in to pick it up, springs forward. Schrobeck, who finds Brown Flamia in a bit of space. That's Sarah Flamia. Not Jill, who started this game, number 19. That'll be number 15, Sarah Flamia, who is one of the halftime substitutions for Richmond Ivy. Deal there in a battle with Flamia, blows past Rosenbaum as well, and gets it over to Harfouche, who's able to distribute it to Delves, but once again, it's Woodson pressing, and that's been a battle all night long, and Woodson has won the majority of those, including that one there. Springs forward, Rosenbaum in a bit of space, can lay it off for Oliver. She cuts in on her right foot, but the shot is high once again, and the finishing has just not been there for either side tonight. Obviously, Ivy with the one goal, but there could definitely be more goals in this game. A couple of other substitutions, it seems like, ready to come on for the Ivy. As here it's Callejo on the ball. Delves overlapping. Decides to cut back in. And not the right decision there as Ivy wins the ball back, but a late foul called against Rosenbaum. A combination of Rosenbaum and Schrobeck. And you could see Nick Regan telling Delves to continue staying wide. She had the space there, continue running, using her pace. As this free kick will be taken by Harfouche. A great teasing ball in, but Martin's a little bit too late on that back post. And Miller gets in the way. Delves winning it back up high. Stavis with time to work. Martins with not the best touch, but retains possession and tries to play in Callejo. She's working really hard for that one. And it's another foul called against Richmond Ivy. So good on Callejo to put in the effort to get to that second ball, put her body in the way, and another foul against Schroppek, but still no cards given out between the two sides. As we enter the 56th minute, and it'll be a Blues free kick from a very dangerous position just a few yards from the top of the box.
Charlottesville this half pressing a lot higher up the pitch. It's created them a few chances. They got a couple free kicks from it. Let's see if they continue it throughout the half.
So it'll be, seems like 3 substitutions lined up for Richmond Ivy. It'll be number 33, Molly Flamia, coming in for number 17, Morgan Oliver. But it seems like those substitutions won't be made until after this free kick. It'll be McGee on the ball here. And she decides to shoot it low, and one of the players on that wall able to get in the way. Seems like a bit of a wasted free kick there, but a bit of a scrum there on the rebound, and Deal is fouled. Actually, no. A long-range effort there by Martins. No foul called, and so it'll be a goal kick for Ivy, and that'll bring on the substitution. So once again, the first of those being number 33, Molly Flamia, for Morgan Oliver, number 17 coming off. Also, number 12, Alexis Pierce coming on for number 4, Gianna Schroppek.
Entering the game, number 6, Ava Pustover. Replacing number 21, Mason Nelson.
And then also number 6, Ava Pustover, replacing number 21, Mason Nelson. So a bunch of changes made, and the starting lineups for these games featured only 6 Blues who started in that previous meeting against the Ivy, and 4 Ivy players from that match. So a lot of rotation, obviously, from the midweek games for both sides earlier this week, as Martins win the ball back up high, but just doesn't get the full connection on that effort that spills into Miller's hands. But once again, like you said, Eli, this press has definitely been a little bit more energetic and some signs of life in terms of trying to mount this comeback. You can see that they're very hungry for that first goal. It's just about the quality on the ball. Can they have that composure in the right moments when they win the ball back up high to just have the quality on the ball and finish their chances? Because there have been some for them, and just in general in this match, it could be a much different scoreline than what we currently stand at 1-0. Callejo, a bit of a tug there from Pierce, who just came into the match, but nothing called. And the throw-in for Ivy goes down this near sideline. Once again, it's Pierce over to Brown, who switches play for Doolittle. Here is Sarah Flamia on the left-hand side, playing it back into Brown. And a switch of play there for Pustover, excuse me. And Pierce once again on the ball. So a bit of a change here on this back line, but the chemistry remains in terms of the tempo. A long-range shot from Woodson, but never troubling Thomas. Saw that the whole way, and it just went wide of the right post.
CBS 19 News at 4 is the number 1 4 p.m. newscast in Charlottesville. When CBS 19 says the news starts at 4, they mean it. Exclusive team coverage, accurate weather forecast, local updates, and more. CBS 19 News at 4, your number 1 rated 4 p.m. newscast. Weekday, following Judge Judy on CBS
Brown
19.
picking up the ball in midfield, playing it back out wide behind to Doolittle. And Ivy kind of taking the sting out of this match a little bit after the past 5 minutes of really sustained pressure for the Blues. And that's going to be the key for them to hold on to this lead if they can continue that holding possession. Woodson with a great effort there. Delves going down, but play continues, and it's Rosenbaum on the ball. Harfouche gets a toe on it, but it goes off last of Rosenbaum. And here it's Delves once again going down to ground after that collision with Woodson, but getting back up. And that's a positive sign, but I think she's being forced to go off to the side here for interrupting play for a minute or two before being allowed back on. And so she'll be checked, but should be able to continue. So momentarily, the Blues will be playing with 10 players without their left back at the moment, Delves. Just getting taped up there on that left ankle area. And the Blues here mounting a bit of an attack. Coyote tries to play in Martins, but good on Doolittle for getting in front of that. And Hart back out to Copeland. Ball won back here by the Blues. A long ball in for Cook, but not connecting. And Coyote not getting able to get onto that rebound. Tries to put in a sliding tackle, but Rosenbaum gets the ball back and plays in a long through ball for Barry. A battle between Barry and Copeland. Harfouche there to help. A bit of miscommunication, but eventually Copeland clears only for Brown to win it back. But a great bit of skill there by Deal. And once again, the team's trading blows in terms of these long direct balls in over the top, but just hasn't had the right pace to match these runs.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to spotlight the National Clubs Alliance, the future of youth sports advancement. The NCAA provides youth soccer organizations across the country a turnkey solution to secure major partnerships with world-class.
So once again, a bit of a lower scoring affair between these two sides with about 27 minutes remaining as Rosenbaum once again showing off those moves on the ball. Swings it out wide. Back to Rosenbaum at the top of the box. She shoots, but Thomas able to save it with her foot. And she's urging her team on to take this chance on in transition. Stavis with options, plays it to Kaya, who's pressured, and there goes that opportunity for the Blues. Ivy able to get into their own sequence of transition. And this is probably not a track meet that the Blues want to participate in. And Woodson throws off, Delves off the ball, but Thomas jumping in front of that before Barry could get to it. She's been everywhere tonight in just 20 minutes, and Delves once again down to ground. She's had a couple of very physical altercations down this near side with the right winger, and she'll be checked just as well. So coming off that injury from 2 matches ago, able to play 90 minutes in midweek, and don't know what exact, maybe it could be some sort of upper body head injury potentially, based on, it would look like almost a shoulder to shoulder. We'll see if Delves is able to continue playing here, but it'll queue up what essentially would be around this time a hydration break regardless. And wishing the best for Abby Delves. back line for the Blues has been bruised and battered this season. A lot of formation changes, personnel changes, and Thomas as well there helping the trainer overlook those. Dell was able to get back up and chatting with the trainer. Just kind of taking their time here as it is essentially the hydration break for the second half. And it seems like the signs point toward it seems like Delves might be substituted off here. Trainer walking alongside her, Harfou's chatting with her. And that would make it 2 substitutions on this back line. Due to injury tonight for the Blues, already Madeline Radke going out in the 2nd or 3rd minute after a non-contact injury, just planting her foot wrong, I believe. And here to be Delves after just a 50-50 physical battle, a couple of those with Woodson down that left flank. So in place of Abby Delves, it'll be McKenna Winterton, Charlottesville native, called up from the Pro 23 team, coming in a forward. So we'll see how that changes this formation. And just as well, it'll be Copeland coming off this back line in replacement Megan Dwyer, who replaced Delves in the previous home match as a right wing back. And so surely a lot of positional changes for the players out there. And just as well, it'll be Abby Schwartz coming on for Barrett Callejo in attack.
On for number 10, Barrett Callejo. And number 20, McKenna Winterton. On for number 5, Abby Delves.
So Winterton going it over with Stavis in terms of positionally where everyone needs to be. It seems like it'll be Schwartz taking up that left wing for Callejo, and it remains Cook up top with Martins on the right wing, but Winterton kind of playing in a bit of a attacking midfield role, supporting Cook. The Southern Virginia attacker scoring loads of goals in her time there, Winterton. Got a couple of minutes on the road in Annapolis where the Blues lost 2-0, and the result was really already decided by the time she was subbed on. But here getting a bit of a bigger chunk with 20 minutes remaining, as well as the likes of Schwartz and Dwyer. Once again here, It's a ball played in through by Woodson, but too much on that. Thomas reacting quickly and going to ground.
Hey, Blues fans, who's ready for some seriously good tacos? Torchy's Tacos is bringing the flavor with bold, in-your-face tacos, legendary queso, and ice-cold barbs that are total game changers. A convenient location right here in Charlottesville, Torchy's is serving up scratch-made flavor that scores every time. From their taco of the month to those addictive queso cravings.
Around 19 minutes remaining here for the Blues to mount this comeback, get an equalizer for what would be yet another valuable point at the very least. But they'll have to score their first goal of the season to do that, Eli. And what do you like about some of these changes that they've brought on in not just attack, but all phases of the field? How do you see this playing out differently?
Hopefully some fresh legs can really help Charlottesville continue that pressure we saw earlier in the half. They created double the amount of chances just in that first 15 minutes, 4 shots compared to 2 in the first half. Hopefully fresh legs help continue that pressure, and we can get that first goal of the season.
Absolutely, that is the idea, trying to get, of course, as many players involved as possible in this summer league. Of course, it's not always about the results, but some good results will definitely help team chemistry, team momentum, and help these players reach their full potential during this limited time in USLW action. Here, Martin's trying to spring forward Cook, but once again, the angle of the pass just not in her path. And Miller able to spring forward this Ivy attack quickly. Here it's Rosenbaum taking on her defender. Ball played in, but cleared on the line by Harfouche. Back to Rosenbaum. Silky feet there, but it goes out of play. Last touch by her, so it'll be a goal kick for the Blues. Cook here in a wide position, but her cross is a poor one, and it goes to that close post where Miller is able to grab it. Once again, Ivy working out of possession, and the Blues press dropping off a little bit there.
Yeah, since that injury to Dells, we haven't seen the same sort of pressure we saw from Charlottesville that we saw in the first 15 minutes. It's dropped off a little bit compared to the first little bit of this half.
A long ball played in there from Thomas. Schwartz trying to win that header, but seemed like it went off her last, but it'll be a Blues throw-in. So it'll be Dwyer to take this throw-in, and it's going to require some fight. It's going to require some grit, maybe just a little bit of luck on some of these 50-50 balls. But the Blues will have to put an aggressive shift in for those substitutes to inspire a comeback in this one. 15 minutes remain in this second half. And Rosenbaum with 15 minutes remaining still just one of the most energetic players on the field, not just from an Ivy perspective, but in general. She's gotten in all sorts of areas up the pitch, but Martins wins it back high. Deal on the ball, assessing her options. And a bit of backpedaling there by the Blues, and Harfouche receives the ball back. She tries to play in a long ball overhead. It's Winterton in the box. Tries to head it on, but saved by Miller. She gets a second effort once again, cleared by a Ivy defender. And Winterton making her presence known just minutes after coming on, but not able to put that one in the back of the net. And Ivy tries to spring forward and attack here for Oliver. Oliver in some space, trying to take on her defender. Plays in. Rosenbaum, a great recovery tackle there by Harfouche. And it'll go out for a throw-in for the Ivy. It's been a little bit back and forth in the last couple of minutes, and while the Blues do need to take a little bit more of some risks and expose themselves, that's definitely left them with a lot of questions to answer in behind when the Ivy attack. A great move by the Ivy attacking player there. In for Barry, and she skies it from the 6-yard box. Seemed like an easy tap in there, and that would have put the game away for the Ivy. But just gets the wrong type of finish on that one. And that'll be one we can circle back to if the Blues do end up equalizing, because that is one you certainly have to put in the back of the net, Eli.
Without a doubt. Rosenbaum, she's done it all night, drives into the box, and what a miss.
Ball played in there over the top. Barnes and Cook trying to deal with it, but well cleared. And now it'll be Flamia to spray this one out into midfield, and a bit of miscommunication there. It'll be Barry to drive this attack forward once again, but a good recovery by Dwyer to just send it into those away stands. And that'll just keep the Blues from getting caught out, allow them to take their shape once again. It'll be another substitution here for Richmond Ivy. It'll be Lisa Ilovera coming on. Coming on for Dakota Brown, number 23. So most of the substitutions used by the Ivy here. And looking to close this one out on the road to get a little bit of revenge after the Blues shared the points, stole a couple of the points from the Ivy on their home field. Here it'll be Winterton driving the ball in, puts it into midfield for Cook to deal with. Martins assesses her options, puts the ball in over the top for Schwartz, but goes just over her head. And Miller there to collect.
Charlottesville probably playing their best half of soccer so far this season, but the quality just at the end, whether it be the final shot or the final ball, just hasn't been enough for them to get that first goal.
Once again here it's Woodson on the ball, cuts it in, but the shot goes off McGee. I believe she got a touch on that. No, it's actually being given as a goal kick. So once again, a poor finish from Barry, I believe, and Thomas, who stayed rooted to the center of her goal, not forced to make a save on that one. And now there's only 10 minutes left in the second half outside what we'll see for stoppage time. But the clock is ticking for the Blues to respond here.
Yeah, Charlottesville having to press much higher up the pitch in order to try and get that first goal. It has left them exposed at the back, and it's led to a couple chances that Ivy really should have taken.
Yeah, it seems like there is another goal in this game, Eli. Whichever way you cut it, either the Blues will find that final pass and get their equalizer, or with the way this has become a bit of a track meet, the Ivy will surely put one of these open chances into the back of the net, but we'll see who budges first. Great by Martins there to win it off Flamia in midfield. It's Cook in a wide position. And a great tackle there by that Ivy defender on the far side to force the throw in, help Richmond get back into its shape. A long throw in there going over the top of everyone's heads, and it'll be a Richmond throw in its own half, deep into that near corner flag. Dwyer doing well to win that one. Cook at the edge of the box. Martins with the help decides to shoot it herself, but not on target once again. So it'll be a goal kick for Ivy. Miller to distribute. Doolittle getting past Martins, and this Charlottesville press definitely higher now, and forces that turnover, a throw in for the Blues. But the tempo has to stay at this level. Winterton to Martins, but cleared there by the Ivy. And we'll do it all over again with another throw in. One back by the Ivy. And able to assess options there. A ball played in behind, but it's Harfouche just barely dealing with that one. Thomas decides to come off her line and be the one to distribute. And ball there in for Cook, but easily dealt with by Pustover. And a misfire there. Schwartz able to now take her defender on one-on-one. Winterton receives the ball, plays it back for Schwartz. Great combination there. Can Schwartz get this ball into the box? Takes on her defender. Maybe one too many touches, but does swing a ball in. It goes wide over the heads of a couple players. And the Blues forced backwards here once again. So a great combination there by Winterton and Schwartz, as Ivy once again clears, and some great composure there on the ball from the midfielder. Once again, it's Barry dropping in deep and getting her other teammates into the game to take the sting out of this Blues press. Really making them work for this. Dwyer able to get onto that second chance. Harfouche in for Hart. Hart with a lot of time on her hands, but the ball is won back by the Ivy. A 50-50 duel in midfield. It's Deal winning it back. Turns. And Hart there once again, but plays it backwards for Dwyer. And fantastic tackle there by Woodson. It's a 2-on-1 between Woodson and buried, but what a standing tackle by Harfouche. And the Blues win the ball back, completely stopping that breakaway. Schwartz beating her defender, now getting double teamed. Once again, a great ball in required, a good recovery tackle. Who's it go off last? The Ivy player, and it'll be the first Blues corner of the night in the 86th minute, and this requires a fantastic service if the Blues want to equalize.
What a challenge from Harfouche there. In a 2-on-1, if they get past her, without a doubt, it is a goal, and this game is probably put to bed.
Corner swung in there, and the header, not sure who got on the end of that, but always rising, just the effort there, not angled downward, and it'll be an Ivy goal kick. But as you said there, Eli, Harfouche with some brilliant judgment on that 2-on-1, completely stopping it in its tracks. And we're just all left wondering how there hasn't been another goal scored yet in these final minutes. But still some time, and we'll see how much is added on as well. With, obviously, of course, another injury for the Blues with Delves coming off, taking up a bit of time, as well as that hydration break. So could expect 4 or 5 minutes once again here, and it's Martins pressing that back line. And this is more of what I'm sure Nick Regan loves to see from his side and has been pushing in training in terms of that off-the-ball intensity. Throw in here for Martins to deal with in the box. She sends it across, but it's well dealt with by Miller. Would have been a tap-in for, I believe, Stavis, just a few yards out from goal, but the pace on that cross just not enough to catch Miller. Now to be a long goal kick into midfield for Miller, but the Blues battling a bunch of 50-50 balls and some sloppiness in the last 10 to 15 minutes from Ivy as they try to hold this lead, but misjudgments there by Dwyer. And it's Woodson on the ball. Once again, another fantastic tackle by Harfouche. She's really shown some class since coming on in the second half. Stavis in transition over to Schwartz. Can she get a better cross in this time? The cross is sent in, dealt with by Cook. Tries to play it to herself with a bit of an acrobatic touch, but it goes out for a goal kick. Seems like our camera has had some technical difficulties at the moment, so we apologize for that in these final minutes of this 64 derby between Richmond Ivy and Charlottesville Blues. Hang tight and stay with us. We'll try to continue providing commentary here on Sports Engine Play as we enter the 90th minute. Seems like we've gotten it all back up and running with our camera. We apologize for that inconvenience, but a ball in behind here for Richmond. A great touch there, but once again, a save forced by Thomas Rosenbaum with the effort, and it's a goal line clearance by Harfouche. She's been everywhere tonight since subbing on. And the Blues fans loving this here in the final minutes, but they still find themselves down, and Ivy once again with another wave of pressure. Sarah Flamia here on the ball. Does Ivy force the issue or just keep possession in these final minutes as the clock is ticking against the Blues? A ball sent in there by Woodson, but once again dealt with by McGee. And it's one back up high by Ilovera. So the Blues pinned in deep here in the final minute as we enter now stoppage time, which will be 3 minutes. And once again, Schwartz is sprung forward with Cook and Winterton as options. Winterton making that diagonal run. Schwartz playing it for Stavis. Will she switch it for Martins? No, a great turn there. tries to play Cook in behind, but she's not on the same page and cleared by the Ivy, but a header there for Martins, and Cook tries to take it on the one time in for Winterton. She shoots, and it's in the back of the net. It's 1-1 here at Charlottesville High School. McKenna Winterton with the equalizing goal after a failed clearance by the Ivy. And what a way for the Blues to score their first goal of the season. It's all tied up here in Charlottesville with 2 minutes remaining of stoppage time. So Ivy now forced to continue pressing, not able to capitalize on a couple of grade A chances, and McKenna Winterton, the call up from the Pro 23 team in just her second appearance, this time as well coming off the bench, making the impact and scoring the equalizing goal, the first of the season for the Charlottesville Blues women's side. And the clock is ticking now. It looks like the Blues trying to hold on for yet again another draw against this Richmond Ivy side, which would make up both of the points for the Blues on the season. And it'll be a throw-in in favor of the Blues, and now Ivy, as you can see, certainly a couple of those players, including Rosenbaum, who's put in a fantastic shift of her own tonight, the captain, getting a bit frustrated. Winterton, that throw-in goes just above her head. Woodson here on the ball, cutting inside, trying to play in her teammate, but a bunch of Blues bodies around that ball. Sprayed out wide here for Rosenbaum. Can she get some service into the box? She cuts in on her left, beats her player. Well dealt with, and eventually Martin's there, of all players, getting back on the defensive side of the ball and clearing that one, but only for another wave of pressure here. Pierce trying to get over to Molly Flamia. But it'll be a goal kick for Thomas to deal with. And the final seconds ticking off the clock here at Charlottesville High School. Will the Blues get another opportunity to potentially even win this game? Or will this be one of the final kicks? And the referee signals the final whistle. And it's a fantastic effort and comeback from your Charlottesville Blues here against the Richmond Ivy. And 2 games between these two sides this season and 2 draws, 0-0 over in Richmond to begin the season for the Blues. And here tonight at Charlottesville High School Stadium, 1-1 after the equalizing goal from McKenna Winterton, who has made the difference here tonight and given a little bit of hopes for the Blues in this Chesapeake Division battle.
Without a doubt, the best Charlottesville Blues performance. That half was a great half of football from Charlottesville. The pressure, the intensity they showed, that is something they can build on through the rest of the season. Hopefully we can get that first win next week.
Absolutely. There's no better time to put in this type of performance than in a derby match like this. And 2 of the best performances of the season against Richmond Ivy. And the look to build off that, as the Blues women's next match will be away on Thursday, June 12th at Virginia Atlantic, who is bottom of the division with 0 points entering tonight's action. So another very winnable game, or a game where the Blues will certainly be looking to take points away from before returning back home against Annapolis Blues for what will be the 3rd matchup between those sides on June 18th. So looking ahead to those matchups in the coming weeks, as the Blues will look to continue what is now a bit of a revival in form. And it all ends here 1-1 square between the Charlottesville Blues and Richmond Ivy at Charlottesville High School Stadium. Thank you for joining us here on Sports Engine Play. I'm Camille Goop for Eli Bertoni. We'll see you next time.